This is Bunny Bhoola reporting live from South Africa for the dope news called African Voices for the Road to Growth. The coronavirus has stopped us all in our paths, putting a pause on our daily day-to-day activities. One such activity is travel and tourism. The industry is at a standstill, but that does not mean innovation for survival is dead. With our show, we want to understand the journey of these trailblazing industry leaders, from their past journeys to the present situation, and of course, the roadmap to tomorrow's growth. So join me on this interesting journey as we move across the various African countries to learn, explore, and empower the voices of Africa as they set into survival mode to revive and reinvent to a whole new normal. Our guest this morning is Roheel Shah, Managing Director of Shah Tours and Travel in Moshi, Tanzania. Good morning, Roheel. Welcome to the Dope News, our special series on African voices on the road to growth. And you are indeed a special African voice.
Thank you, Bunny.
Shah Tours is one of the trekking pioneer companies of Mount Kilimanjaro, commonly known as the Roof of Africa. Let's just talk a little bit about pre-COVID. Can you tell me the highlights of your travel business in the last 2 years? This is just before COVID. Shah Tours has had an impressive record for over 30 years. What were the footfalls like in Moshi and in Tanzania?
Yeah, thank you, Bunny. Over the last 2 years, it's year on year, I think, even before, we've had increasing footfall of visitors. The government have continued to promote, and we're getting more and more tourists year on year. I believe last year, I think it was around nearly 2 million visitors, which is about double what we had 10 years ago. So for all of us, even us, there are many companies that offer various tours from mountains, safaris, and many other experiences. All of us did feel that, and we can see the increase in numbers. The year on year, our turnover has gone up. Obviously, with the increasing park fees, we're still seeing the volume of climbers have increased. For us personally, as a company, most of our tours are actually highlight tours or bucket list adventures. They could be anyone's dream holiday. We've got things like Serengeti Migration, Ngorongoro Crater, Africa's highest mountain. Tours practically sell themselves. We don't even need to describe. Really, I think the highlight for us as a company was that it was going very well. We're having increasing numbers. We also then managed to improve our standards of the tour, and in the last few years, we found clients care a lot about sustainability and fair treatment. We're now externally monitored. In the last couple of years, we're externally monitored on our clients to ensure of those fair treatment standards against the hardest workers. We in 2018, I think that was probably my last major highlight. We actually broke a world record on Kilimanjaro. We had a group that played a DJ set inside of the crater on Kilimanjaro, and really like a 30 to 40 minute music set inside at about 5,700 meters plus. And it was very exciting. We had planned this year to go back into the crater to break more records. Unfortunately, I think that will be a little bit delayed, but we do hope. The recovery, I think, will come a little bit slowly.
That's very, very interesting, Roheel. All right, let's now move a little bit to the present. Our lockdown status. We started 2020 with hopes and dreams, and suddenly the world stopped. So tell me, how has COVID impacted Moshi and Tanzania during lockdown?
Okay, so actually, we never actually had a lockdown imposed in our country. We were one of the few that decided actually we can't lock down the whole economy, everything. And I think, we're not sure if that was the right decision, and you can see the benefits and the arguments against locking down as well. At the end of the day, many in Tanzania live very day to day. They don't really plan financially for the future. They don't have many big savings. So I think the decision not to lock down hopefully was a good one. And you can see people are still carrying on. And I mean, you can see major changes around town still. That there is improved hygiene. You get a bucket of water with soap at every place now. You can just see them on the roadside. Even the guys selling things on the road will have the bucket and soap next to them to add that level of hygiene. I mean, we do see the effect of it. So, I mean, Tanzania and Moshi both depend heavily on tourism. I think around 20% of the country's GDP is, and likely more for our town itself, depend on tourists, especially our own region depends on the mountain climbers. The only other real major item we have that runs the economy is the production of coffee. Apart from that, it is a very big agricultural place that we don't have many different streams to generate income from. I think since March, we can see the number of, even without the lockdown, we've seen the number of tourists in March decreased. By April, there was no tourists to speak of. There was quarantines imposed on clients, but no matter what, I think a lot of the flight companies had stopped by that point anyway, so there was no one coming really. I think that effect will be felt. It is already felt with the lack of finances in the economy, and it will be felt for a long time. We buy everything locally. A lot of it is sourced here. All of our guides and porters, maybe up to 500 to 700 of them, which we have as our contracted staff, are just without employment right now.
All right, Roheel, now with this challenging situation where businesses have really taken a nosedive, what efforts has government or your tourism departments, how are they playing in supporting you guys in this crucial time?
Yeah, I think a great question. So again, all governments seem to have been caught off guard with the coronavirus. I don't think anyone had planned for it. Things that the government have done, so we've recently been given a draft set of guidelines for operational procedures. This will be rolled out throughout the tourism industry, so that from lodges to tour operators to safari companies to mountain climbing companies, we all have to follow a basic set of guidelines that are directed by the government. Obviously, we will improve on those ourselves where we can and where we can add our own input. But the basic guidelines will be there for everyone, and I think that was a great idea. It's been implemented very quickly, without even, I mean, European countries have expert advisors, scientists that have graduated from top universities. Us in Tanzania, we don't have those, and we've still done, I think, quite well. The government as well have continued with the measures that they have already given. So we don't aim to lock down the entire country. From June, our borders will be open again. There will be no quarantine imposed on clients traveling to Tanzania. There will be enhanced screening, and you can even see from government directing at the airports to the national parks authorities. They've added like hand washing basins, running water, soap buckets with the soap. As well, there is plans right now to build actually a response center inside of Serengeti National Park as well, with hopefully a few ventilators in case clients do travel and we still haven't seen the end of this.
I think, Roheel, it's all about collaboration now, partnerships, and working very closely with people for us to emerge from this situation. Now, the media reported that you had 2 flights that came into Tanzania with international tourists. Have any of them come to Moshi area?
Oh, I'm not so sure where they've gone, but we've had the same. So I believe it's Turkish and Ethiopian that have already started. I'm not 100% sure, but I know all are planning to start by June, with the exception of KLM that might be in July. Again, we have seen, so even the government did release a video from Kilimanjaro where most of our business goes on the mountain, Africa's highest mountain. We've seen the first 2 climbers actually went and climbed, and the government released that on social media and said, it is open as a destination again. People have come. I assume most people do come through Moshi. They didn't come through us. And again, even though our borders are open, we do want to be careful with taking accepting bookings, and it's all very new for us. We want to make sure our policies are very, very clear for our staff before we rush. And for us, it's better to delay for an extra month and be sure than to just rush and take our clients. Some companies are already there, and I assume they can start taking the clients. Again, it is sometimes I don't think any of us are that qualified to make these decisions for clients with aspects to corona and hygiene, and it is beyond our experience. We're all in tourism. So I think we will eventually leave it to clients to make the best decisions, take the government advice. But I think it would be true that clients have already started coming, and many are really wanting to come and can appreciate being locked down in certain countries where you live in a city. People are itching to get out and experience. At the same time, I mean, right now, Kilimanjaro could have been a very, very busy time to climb in June or July. However, this year it might not actually be that busy a time to climb because many are still not going to come. That could be an added benefit for people that, usually July would be absolutely packed out with clients on the mountain. However, in 2020, after Corona, there's not going to be that many people. Everyone's not going to come regardless of restrictions and lockdowns. People are still hesitant. It means that you get the experience in the peak season when there won't be that many people. It could be even better for someone that would have come anyways, and maybe seeing the big volume of crowds, which is obviously not great for while we've got things spreading around.
Well, I think Kili will always attract the adventurous climber. So I'm very sure that the trickle will change very quickly into the normal groups that are coming through. Roheel, now I need you to look into your crystal ball and tell me what's in store in the future for Shah Tours and for Tanzania. What do you think travel is going to be like post-COVID?
Yeah, to be honest, it is a hard question. Some say travel and the world will never be the same again. Others say the opposite, that, things will go back to normal. I think we'll see that for this year at least, and even maybe continuing into 2021. Many will be hesitant to travel. They'll be booking last minute. They might face restrictions in their own country. So even if we don't have a quarantine in Tanzania, you can come, do your tour, and when you go back to your home country, you then are quarantined, which makes it very difficult to travel. I think eventually things will get back to normal. In Africa, it's not the first disease, and it might not even be the last. We've had things, I think the most recent was Ebola, and you would think that would completely make our tours unsustainable. People wouldn't come. At the end of the day, people eventually forget about it and they just carry on. Just like you said, the experience of Kilimanjaro is that once in a lifetime bucket list. You can't just tick it off or wipe it off your desires. If anything, even more people might come to climb the mountain. That now people have really reflected on themselves, and where someone would just go for a holiday and sit around and do nothing, they might be looking for those real experiences, those life experiences that are one of a kind and you just can't get anywhere else. So we hope it may take some time, but eventually I think we will hopefully be better off, and we might be even busier than we could have expected.
I'm sure you will be busier. All right. Based on your experience with visitors over the years, what type of travelers are you expecting post-COVID to start off with?
Yeah, I think a great question. I think initially, I think it will be those looking to take advantage of the lower flight prices. Obviously, our destination is usually quite expensive, probably one of the most expensive in Africa when you look at the per person per day price. I think those that are more budget-minded and are confident to travel, brave enough to travel maybe, will want to take advantage of these lower prices. Even many companies, suppliers are reducing their rates to try and get this recovery. I don't think there will be that big a change in the demographics that do come and travel with us. However, I think if at least for the next 3 years or up to 5 years, we will see the average age of the traveler that comes to Tanzania will likely be lower, especially because those that are at an older age or at a certain age are more high risk at this point in time. So even recommendations. I think you can see countries are recommending that above a certain age, you shouldn't travel, you shouldn't maybe even go back into the workforce. However, below a certain age, it is okay, it's an acceptable risk. And I think we'll see that in the tours as well. Eventually, our prediction is by mid 2021, I think we'll just see the same trends we've had in the last few years.
I think we can just remain positive.
Yeah.
And regarding your MICE and group travels, can you tell me any special plans you have in mind?
Yeah, so actually we never really focused on mice before. We just happened to come across it when we went for a trade fair in Asia. We saw that the mice market there was absolutely huge, even bigger than our leisure market where we normally focus. I think we will be tailoring packages for that industry. It does seem, industry predictions are all over the place, but it does make sense that actually those in a corporate setting and for the mice industry will likely be the ones to travel first before people consider going on their leisure holidays. Again, the same with finances. Many people maybe haven't had the salaries right now. They've got risk of their job. There might be an impending recession. Businesses usually still go through that. We still have to operate, and I think mice will do better initially, and then the leisure industry will take a little bit longer. Group travel, I'm not so sure about. So we already offer group experiences, shared group experiences. I do personally think that we might see less of that, and people are willing to pay a higher price point to get a private experience. That means it's a bit more intimate. We're not exposed to other people. But eventually, like-minded people want to meet other people that want to climb mountains, that want to see wildlife. Eventually, I think it will be about the same, and it may have the opposite effect that people have less finances, so are looking for that reduced price point in a group experience. So yeah, I think always very difficult to predict, but we hope whichever way it could be okay for us and okay for everyone in the industry and the people that benefit.
Just elaborate on your safety and security protocols that you're putting in place for peace of mind for your clients.
So, for our own company, so because we climb a mountain, the upper altitude or the upper point of the mountain is at just under 6,000 meters above sea level. So here you've got about 50% of the oxygen you would get at sea level. In a general day, everyone needs oxygen to survive. We know that most living things need oxygen. We already are very, very strict with our policies for safety. We have regular training, usually biannually. But this year we weren't allowed to do those big training sessions with our guides, so we likely will delay those to later in the year. I think you will see a major change, and it's not. Initially, it does look a bit complicated for us, but I think it will just be basic items that are already being done and already being recommended around the world. You see where our guides usually would just have nothing on their face. They might have a face mask. Porters handling equipment, and even those in our office that handle clients' goods, some of their food items, they will all have to wear masks. They'll wear protective gloves, also regularly sanitize their own hands, as well as use chemical solutions on items that are circulated, shared between clients. I think we will really see that. I don't think it's going to be anything that requires all technical work to do. I think basic hygiene is, you can see around the world, it is just that basic hygiene of washing hands, wearing personal protective equipment when you're exposing yourself to other people. And I think that will create the safe experience. Tanzania at the end of the day is a very big country. It's a very big open spaces. You're not in big cities usually. Even if there are big cities, usually most will never see those anyways, because they are here to go to those big open spaces to see wildlife. The national park itself for Kilimanjaro is absolutely huge. You can go from 6 different routes coming from all directions. We can manage these safer experiences, I believe, and as long as the changes are done well. There are always some limitations. We can be as safe as possible, but at the end of the day, you will have to share a car maybe with your other group members, and again, that presents some of its own risks. Same on the mountains, you have to share tents sometimes. Even if you don't share the sleeping tent, you're still sharing dining tents. You're still potentially sharing those transfers anyways beforehand. But I think we will be able to, so in combination with those guidelines released by the government, we'll have our own procedures that will make sure that we're doing the best possible to make it a safe experience.
Thank you, Roheel. And in closing, what is your message to the industry partners and to prospective clients?
I think first, thank you for taking the time to listen. I think my message to the industry partners and prospective clients would be, really take this time to improve on your materials, your sales materials, your websites, your policies in the office. Maybe even it doesn't even have to be your work. Take up hobbies that you might have never had the chance to do. Make the most of the unfortunate situation. We are very hard hit in tourism, but we still do see positives. I myself, we have a 2-year-old daughter. So we're getting to spend a lot more time with her at home, getting a lot more time with her. We know that one day the storm will pass and people will travel again. It is just to make the most of it for now and not to panic and stress. And I mean, no matter how much we worry, we don't know what's going to happen. No matter how many industry experts we listen to, no one really knows what the world will do. I think one thing we can see for sure is that it will end and people do still want to come and travel, not just to our destination, but to everyone's. For the clients as well, it is, take advice of your own governments, do your research, make sure you pick the right operators and the right experiences that are already proving to you that it can be safe and fun, and you don't have to worry and have things going on in the back of your mind, which no one wants on their holidays or vacations. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Roheel, for sharing all this wonderful information with the Dope News. And you are indeed one of the voices, strong voices of Africa.
Thank you.
I just like to reiterate, Tanzania is, as you said, value for money, open spaces, and you welcome everyone to discover their inner strength. This is Bunny Bhoola from the Dope News, African Voices, and on the road to growth, saying goodbye.